Hello everyone, I thought I'd do my response vid to my question and answer video. So this is the answer part. I've got quite a few questions from different people and I shall slowly work through them. Now the first person to ask questions was JJ Prime 1996 and he's asked a couple of questions. Now his first question was, how long have I been collecting Transformers? That's quite easy, that's from the beginning, since 1984. Obviously I got into it the same way as a lot of people similar age to myself, watching the cartoons. You get hooked on the toys. It's a good advert. Hasbro knew what they were doing, and yeah, it just sort of carried on from there really. He asked his second question, do you always have a toy in mind when you go to the car boot fairs? Yes and no. There are always particular things, either be it accessories, parts or particular bots that I would obviously always keep an eye out for. As we've always got, as any collector's always got some toy that they'd like to find. But you've got to keep an open mind because you never know what's going to turn up. It could be something from any of the generations, literally from G1 right through to Prime. I just sort of keep my eye out and try and pick up some bargains really. It is not a case of seeking out one thing and one thing alone when you're going around the car boots, because likelihood you'll never find it doing that. And anyway, it's always fun to see something different anyway. His third question is, will you be getting Generations Metroplex? Now, probably not as like when it was released. If I see it for a good price later on, or a couple of years down the line when somebody's getting rid of it, a car boot or something, I would probably pick it up. But I've got the G1. Although he's bigger and he's going to be more articulated and that, probably with a few different features, it's not that much of a difference to get the same character again. I know that doesn't necessarily work with a lot of other Transformers I've got, because obviously I've got more than one of the same character, but I think it's almost too similar to the G1 to make it worth picking up, to be honest, unless it was cheap. Right, the second questioner, and it's a guy who doesn't live a million miles away, just up the coast, is Only Norris. His real name's Matt. Nice guy. I've got to know a little bit over YouTube. Must meet up at some point as well, but we keep saying that and never get round to it, so we must do that. His first question, are you on Facebook or Twitter, and do you add people from YouTube? Not on Twitter. Never really fancied adding myself to another thing like that. I am on Facebook, but the only thing I would say is I don't really have anything to do with like the toy side like I do on here. It's more just sort of family and sort of friends I've grown up with on Twitter. Though, if you want to PM me, and sort of like can add each other. But again, I'm not really going to go on there and discuss toys and all the rest of it and that, because that's really the point why I've bothered to do the YouTube channel in that way. The second question he's asked is, what is your favourite Transformer? And I'd have to say, I have sort of said it before, but it's probably G1 Soundwave. I liked the whole fact of the character. He's quite menacing, quite mysterious, which is followed on even right through into Prime. I do like the fact that the added feature of the cassettes. I know it's not quite that in Prime, but G1 did have that added play value effectively of having all the cassette forces that he could deploy. So he was always really my more favourite character. What boot fairs do I go to? Is his third question. Without saying specific names of places, which wouldn't mean a lot to most people, I would just say sort of like all what I can try and find in a reasonable area to travel to, because obviously you don't want to travel 20-30 miles to one on the off chance it's even on or any good. So I tend to sort of stay of an area where I can drive to, I don't know, in about half hour at the most really. Just sort of look in the local papers and see what's advertised, but I'll try and get to as many as I can anyway. His fourth question is, what's my best experience with a dartboard? A bit of a random question, but I would say that's probably back when I was, I don't know, early 20s, I suppose, something like that, 20, something around that age. I used to go out with some mates midweek and we used to have a sort of more of a muck around game of darts and just the odd drink as a midweek sort of like just a fun night out. Can't think of any other particular ones with a dartboard as such, but yeah, I hope that's answered your questions. The next questioner is Jetstorm the Reviewer, and he asks, which would you run over in your car, the Go Compare guy, Rick Roll, or Leo Spitz? Rick Roll being the ones I think who he on YouTube, where if you click on a video you get Rick Astley's song. Leo Spitz is obviously the guy from Revenge of the Fallen, the sort of friend or roommate of Sam. They're all annoying, but I'd probably go with the Go Compare guy, because probably just for being more regular annoyingly to the average person. Lord Ginge 2010, if that's how you pronounce it, asks, which new figures are you looking forward to, be it from Generations or Prime? Probably the most ones I'm looking forward to actually sort of seeing, because they haven't actually been released yet in our area, would be the Predacons, because they're that bit different. Only Predacons are obviously shown up in the actual cartoon so far, but the Predacons are going to be more interesting because obviously they've got a bit more of a different mode, being like the dragons or designs. The other figures in the sort of Prime line coming into Beast Hunters, where you get redos of, say, Wheeljack and Bumblebee, although they're a bit different, they're not really different enough to really excite me of seeing them. So more the Predacons, I think, out of any of them. Although I have seen sort of like the Generations, Blitzwing and was it Springer. Yeah, they're all right, but then again, you know, again, this is the same sort of thing with Metroplex. I've got the G1s. Do I want yet another version of the same character, which is pretty much based on the original one anyway? Although they are, and I sort of freely admit, an improvement in articulation and the designs and that, I'm still obviously going to favour the ones that I grew up with. So yeah, mainly just the Predacons really I'm looking forward to sort of seeing. Gen 8 Wolf, if that's again how you pronounce it, asks, what has your best car boot find been? There's two sort of options in that. One is value. I picked up the movie Devastator, the sort of Supreme class one. He's not quite complete, but for £1.20, bearing in mind that when he was released he was about £100, is a pretty good bargain. But if it's more, how can I put it, nostalgia value, finding Octopunch, nearly sort of, well, getting on for complete. He was a pretty good find. That was really good. Wasn't expecting to find many G1s when I started going around the car boots, because you don't really expect many people to still have odd ones knocking around, but they do pop up now and again, and I must admit that was really good, because he's in pretty good nick as well. So yeah, between those two really. Now Bumble Jumper 82, which is Ed, the cheerfulest man on YouTube, I'd have to say, asks, which Transformer in your collection is the least favourite and why? I'm a bit of a, I do try to find the best in all the Transformers, to be fair, even the poorest of them, like the Firecons and the Sparkbots. But I'd have to say probably the G2 sort of pull back and go ones like Stax. I did do reviews on a few of those. They're pretty basic, with hardly any articulation, so they're not great. But even, I like Arachnid, I like Knockout. I try and find something decent in any of the toys, even if it's just their alt modes or some little features or little touches on them. His second question is, did you cry when Optimus died in 1986? In 1986, what would I have been? I'd have been about 14, I think. My maths is right, so I didn't cry, no. Basically for the fact, being that age, it was a cartoon character dying. I was a bit surprised, because I think it was the first actual proper cartoon character to properly die. I mean, it's not like Tom and Jerry where they kill each other and then they come back in the next cartoon. This was a proper death scene, obviously, but it was more shocking actually to me the way the Decepticons killed the Autobots on the shuttle, killing off Ironhide, Ratchet, Prowl and Brawn in like a whim. That was a bit more shocking, and also you just get almost like a side glance that Wheeljack and I think it was Windcharger had been killed as well. It's like, oh, okay then, never mind. There goes some main characters. Mind you, that was Hasbro's sneaky way of making more toys, of course. His third question is Megan Fox or Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, or whatever her name is. I would probably go Megan Fox. I still think she's better looking. His fourth question is, will I be seeing you at AA for a big man hug? Slightly scary. Unfortunately, I don't think the finances are going to push to it. I'd love to be able to go up there. I would have come up with a partner as well. She's quite sort of would be prepared to go up as well, probably to keep an eye on me so I don't spend all my money. But yeah, probably not this year. There is things in the offing that I might be sort of getting a different job, but that's in the sort of throes at the moment, and whether that would mean I've got enough spare cash to actually do it, I don't know as such at the moment. I'd love to go next year though, because obviously it's going to be the 30th anniversary of Transformers, so that is one I would really want to push to go to, but you never know, if things improve before AA, I might be able to get there. And his final question is, where is My Fault Max? Because of course he still hasn't got his. Now I do feel sorry for Ed, because it seems like everyone else has had theirs delivered and he's still waiting. I'm hoping it's not on a very slow boat from China. I still can't understand. I've got mine from Kapow Toys. I know he's ordered these off TF Source, but you can't cancel his pre-order, which is a bit naughty in a way, because I know Action Jackman had ordered his from somewhere else and then saw that I'd got mine already from Kapow, and I think he cancelled his and got his from Kapow in under a week or thereabouts. So yeah, I do feel for your Ed, but I'm sure it will turn up. If not, I would send some really nasty emails to him. Next questioner, and I must apologise actually, in my last video I got his numbers wrong. It's Black Rabbit 3333 rather than 6666. He's asked me, what other toy lines did I enjoy as a kid? First and foremost, obviously, all kids play with toy cars, but as a major sort of toy collection, I obviously was the right age that I was into the Star Wars stuff, so I've still got a lot of my original Star Wars toys, the figures and the vehicles. I still like it. I did even pick up some of the newer stuff when it came out, some of the more obscure characters that we didn't quite get in the original lineup. though I don't go out my way to get loads more because Transformer collection's big enough, and if I collect everything, I literally would have no room at all. But yeah, Star Wars was the first big thing I collected, I suppose, which sort of slid into Action Force, being that they were similar and you could almost play with the figures together because they're the same size, 3 3/4 inch figures. And that sort of was around about the time when Transformers came out, so there was a bit of both. And then obviously I've carried on with Transformers right through to now, of course. But I still enjoy it. I still, as you see in my last haul vid, I still pick up the odd Action Force figure or something like that if I see it. You know, it's still nostalgia value. His second question is, if I could be a Transformer, who would I be and why? I suppose, just for the sake of the different modes, someone like Six Shot, because of course you've got 6 different modes. Character wise, I still like Soundwave, of course, but being just a cassette player, a bit boring when you could be a vehicle. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Probably go with Six Shot if I had to choose one. The Fallen 835 asks, do you read Transformer comics, and if so, which ones? I do read some. I prefer to get them more as the graphic novels, so that it's the whole story or a big chunk of the story, rather than getting the individual comics over time. I find it a little bit tedious. I know that sounds bad, but I used to get, obviously when I was younger, I got all the Marvel comics, and I've still got a fair old lump of them. I missed a few earlier copies, but I used to read those, but it's a little bit, you know, you're waiting for the next part to come out. I quite like getting the graphic novels, because then you get sort of like at least a good chunk of the storyline, if not the whole story. Ones I particularly enjoyed, I suppose, what's sticking in my mind is Last Stand of the Wreckers. That was a good one, and All Hail Megatron has been a good one as well. But yeah, I do enjoy them. I mean, they are good, and the artwork's fantastic from IDW, so I really enjoy that side of it. Rave1x asks a question that I can't really answer on the internet, is how would you commit the perfect murder? If I knew how to do that, the Go Compare guy would be in trouble, wouldn't he? Felix TJ Falk, if I've pronounced that right for you, asks a couple of questions. He's asked, how did I get started filming my collection? Basically, I just watched on YouTube, watching other guys. Collector 75 stands out. A few SMS Number 1, Wolfgang 1, Wasp Shot 23. All these guys were sort of putting up films, and I thought, well, I've got some of the early sort of Transformers. It might be fun to contribute and add a bit of my own sort of two-penneth into the community. So I thought, well, rather than just watching other people's and commenting, I thought I'd just sort of give it a go. And that's pretty much it, really. His second question is, where did my love of collecting Transformers come from? Well, again, it comes basically from the beginning when they came out in '84. Obviously the cartoon was a big factor in selling the toys to the kids, and wanting to pick them up. But yeah, I sort of started the same way I'm sure a lot of people did in that sense. Where do you film from? Which room? This is my bedroom. I'm not here all the time because obviously I try to be with my fiance as much as I can, but that's not always possible. So once we get our own place, I'll be able to film from a man cave. We're obviously going to try and get a place where there's enough room that I can have my collection out on display in a spare room, and then that'd be ideal really, because then I can sort of do more filming. I can do it more of an evening rather than just picking and choosing the odd time when I get a chance. And his last question, and the last question of the vid, is how does your significant other cope, react to your hobby? Which is strange that I mentioned her. She's very good. I get the odd eye roll moment, not the same as anybody does, but she's got an interest in sort of like Disney's stuff like that, and you know, I watch those with her. She'll watch a lot of action films with me. She actually enjoys things like the Avengers and all that sort of thing anyway, the superhero movies, so we've got that in common. You don't meet many girls who've got Darth Vader's autograph, so I knew as soon as sort of like we had that in common, there was going to be a lot more other common ground really with things like that. But she's, I think, almost as excited as I am to actually, for me to get a man cave and be able to display my stuff. Obviously like the Star Wars toys as well, because she liked the Star Wars films when she was little as well, because she's only a couple of years younger than me. So yeah, I'm lucky in that way. You know, we've met David Prowse again, got a joint autograph from him to the both of us, and I'm trying to think of his name, but the guy who played Boba Fett as well, we've met him as well, and even had a photograph taken with us in the background where he was standing doing the signings. So yeah, I'm lucky in that sense that she's pretty cool with it, but obviously life comes first and Transformers sort of comes second, though sometimes it probably edges even. But yeah, I'm very lucky in that sense, and she is very understanding with that. I know a lot of other girls wouldn't be, but there are girls out there who would appreciate your interest in something like this. You know, for those guys who are still single, you know, keep your eye out. You never know, you might just find a good one. It took me a few goes, let's put it that way. Anyway, that's the end of my question and answer. Feel free to comment if you've got any any sort of comments to do with my answers. As ever, I will always try and reply to a comment. And yeah, that's it really. I shall see you again excuse me, for another either Transformers review, or if I don't get a chance to do another one beforehand, probably for my next full vid. Okay, well, thanks for everybody that contributed questions. I shall no doubt see you again. Thanks for watching.